I'm Howard Hutton. I live at 804 Cambridge Drive, Columbia, Missouri, 65203. I'm a board member with the Center Project and a friend of Race Matter Friends. Dear Honorable Council members Clyde, Ian, Brian, Carl, Michael, Betsy, and Matt. Dear Honorable Community members, my topic is authentic leadership in community policing, or BLUE. Congratulations on our city police force meeting most of the standards of the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. Congratulations on the small drop in unemployment of our community of color. Congratulations on Columbia's restart of community policing initiative. As you are aware, these are works in progress that deserve continual attention, updates, and reorganizations. We want to get to a Columbia in 2050 when we have 200 or 300,000 people without a Ferguson on our hands. After we get Sergeant Fox's report, it will be time for the key stakeholders of the meetings to meet and develop their own report, or maybe before. I know we were trying to save money, but we really should have had an outside professional group or knowledgeable project coordinator leading this initiative. Still, I don't think it was entirely wasted experience. We learned some things about each other. I heard several police war stories and defensive tactics. I learned about the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing and how close our police department is aligned with it. I didn't learn what its benchmarks were or which ones we met, but I'm reading it now. I learned that if I was available for a beer, I could get the real scoop on the vehicle stop data that doesn't look so good. I like beer okay, but I haven't had time yet. I learned that there seemed to be no new knowledge, no new language regarding the Guardian mindset, no references to rethinking community policing, policing the black man, 13th color of the law, redlining, racism, explicit bias, implicit bias, Oxen Handler's 2015 report on recidivism and sentencing, how our sentencing is the harshest in most developed countries and why, or how we house a quarter of the world's prison population and nearly half of that are people of color, and Boone County's data follows the national average. I learned that there seemed to be no real police knowledge of what happens once the court and prison system take over. Not my job or concern. It's kind of something I heard. I learned that I can't find training logs of community police training or inclusive training on the website, and they might not really exist for individuals on an accessible data log. I learned that there was no real understanding of the concerns of people who happen to be transgender, either when arrested or regarding investigation of violence committed against them, as in what population they should go into to be safe, or how dead naming could immediately cold case an investigation and increase dysphoria dramatically. I learned there is still not very good knowledge regarding how to deal with people with autism. Getting it right with community policing can help short-circuit our court system until they get the laws rewritten and the judges retrained. As Oxen Handler's report in 2015 infers, this data showing people of color incarcerated at such a higher rate begs the question of how our judges are sentencing. Now, recently, we have gotten the national reports on conservative judges sentencing people of color to harsher and longer sentences. In the rural communities, where they really know each other, you always hear about the deputy or sheriff scooping those little boys and young men back up when they've been bad and taking them back to their mothers. To be fair, that even happened to my little hoodlum here in Columbia 8 years ago. Would the children of my neighbors of color have been treated the same? Upon seeing the police union's website during the Trump campaign and listening to my brothers, who used to be in law enforcement, tell me how some of their officers made racial jokes during the little bit of inclusive training they did get, I'm not sure. Then we get another pile of prestigious surveys stating that 17% of Democrats and sometimes over 70% of Republicans believe people of color are inferior in some way depending on what question is being asked. And even when racist policing is explicitly real, I hear some white people say not to lead with that story because it will make policing more dangerous. This is where I say stop it. I want my brothers in police uniforms to be safe. We can only be safer if people see our police responding to their suffering. We can only be safer if we really measure what we do and really accept who we are and educate ourselves about the needs of others. I know that if I traded genetic makeup, atom for atom, and experience with people that don't know or can't see our current problem, that I wouldn't see it either. Peoples used to not write about the color blue. Ancient peoples used to not write about the color blue, and some indigenous tribes today, without that word in their vocabulary, have a particularly hard time telling it apart from green. Once people give them the word and show them how it differs, many begin to see it everywhere. Of course, we can't understand how they can't see it. However, there is no reputation management that has to be done around not seeing blue. We have to start with people who have a language for the implicit and explicit racism all around us if we want our community policing to be effective. We have to have police and leaders that are willing to see the blue all around them.
Thank you, Ms. Hutton.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. And our final speaker